Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Srila Gurudeva Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashata Shishimar Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Goswami Prabhupāda Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishta Maha Bhāgavata Śrīla Gaurkishoras Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Nityalila Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Nagagariya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Shri Jiva Gopala Patadasa Raghunath Patadasa Raghunath Shara Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Namachaya Śrīla Haridas Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kunda Ki Jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagata Grantaraj Srimad Bhāgavatam Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Oh, there's nobody there. Anyhow, I guess I'll just read and anybody can watch later on. Oh no, there's somebody. Okay, so I am going to read now from the it's from the Rays of the Harmonist issue Kārtika 2007, and it is an amazing article by Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Goswami Prabhupāda. I wanted to read it because yesterday we concluded our reading of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, and so I thought it'd be nice to read something about the glories of Bhāgavatam from our Guru Varga. So and then at the end I'd like to read a little something about Śrīla Bhaktivigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj, because I didn't get a chance to do that yesterday. Or maybe some quotes by him. So, alright, so let's see. Oh, usually there's more people by now. I started really late though. Okay, so raising the divine temple of the Bhagavat and unfolding the Parakīya conception, the ultimate conception of Parakīya. Let me change the font, make it bigger. That's nice, right? That's better. Okay. Is this big enough? I can make it bigger. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Okay. Okay, so raising the divine temple of the Bhagavat and unfolding the ultimate conception of Parakīya by Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura Prabhupāda from Śrīla Prabhupādera Harikathāmṛtam, the immortal nectar of Śrīla Prabhupāda's sermons on Lord Hari. The vast palace of the Gaudiya Math has been externally manifest. It has been externally manifest, but now there are several important sacred texts that must also be manifested in this world in order to perfectly establish and preserve the subject matter of internalized pure devotional service to Shri Hari, Hari Bhajan. By manifesting the temple made of both Grantha Bhagavat, the sacred text related to Bhagavan, and Bhakta Bhagavat, the devoted worshippers of Bhagavan who constantly sing his divine glories, the transcendent topics about Shri Hari will be propagated throughout the world for far longer than by manifesting temples of marble and brick. And right here it says, by manifesting the temple made of both Grantha Bhagavat and Bhakta Bhagavat. There's a footnote here. It says, in the original Bengali article, the words used were Kirtan Charcha Mandir and Natya Mandir. A Kirtan Charcha Mandir is the part of the temple wherein the message of Godhead is discussed, and the Natya Mandir is the section in front of the altar where the devotees worship the Lord, especially through Sankirtan. Natya means dancing also, so the dancing temple where we engage in kirtan. 1 second, just checking. Oh man, has my connection not been working? No, it looks like I'm live. Why is the chat not coming up? Maybe I have to, sorry, give me 1 second here. I don't even know who's all here. Okay. Okay. Sorry if you wrote a comment and I missed it. For some reason it logged out here. Okay. A person's lifelong accruement of assets has been engaged in establishing a place of refuge, a fort from which to preach the message of the Supreme Lord. Yet, one taking shelter there must still protect himself from the fellowship of ungodly folk. That is to say, he must save himself from the chaotic sway of this degraded age and preach the message of Godhead from his own station. Consequently, there is a need to disseminate many more sacred texts. The topic of devotional service to the Supreme Lord, Bhagavad Bhakti, will remain in this world if the temple made of these sacred texts and of the ideal lives of his devoted worshippers is manifest. The Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. It is essential that a genuine elucidation on the 10th canto of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam be written. It must not merely be the excess verbosity of scholars who are expert in utterance, nor an exhibition of prakrita sahajyas, the capricious imitationists who accept their cheaply conceived fantasies as part of absolute reality. Rather, for those who earnestly thirst to serve transcendent beauty, and in whom ardent spiritual greed for such service has arisen, this commentary will be considered most desirable to read. There is no treatise in existence that compares to the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Its narrations are not mythology. One who makes a truly impartial study will realize that a sacred text like the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam has never been excelled, nor can it ever be. Within the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, progressively evolved conceptions of the Absolute are demonstrated in sequence. The preliminary conception is, this is interesting. Okay, so within the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, progressively evolved conceptions of the Absolute are demonstrated in sequence. These are the progressive evolved conceptions that is demonstrated in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Okay, the preliminary conception is doubtfulness of the existence of any supreme truth, samshaya. Then come denial of the absolute truth, nastikya. Then acceptance of the absolute as impersonal and featureless, nirguna. The theory that God exists but is neuter, kliva. The potent Godhead, purush, and then the potent and his potency, mithuna. The conception next evolves to svakiya, the eternal matrimony of the supreme male and his consort, and finally Parakīya, the paramour conception of the divine couple. This final theme, Krishna Lila, appears in the 10th canto. So what was the necessity of composing the previous 9 cantos? In these, a foundation is made in preparation for introducing the absolute autocratic loving affairs of the supremely independent Sri Krishna. These loving affairs are the paramount subject of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. The first 9 cantos present the rudimentary theories of doubt up to the conception of conjugal love of God. And in the 10th canto, in chapters like Gopi Geet, the paramour conception is revealed. Prior to the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, many may have examined the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, but only those who have read the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam after reading his biographical anthology, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So only those who have read Śrīmad Bhāgavatam after reading Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which was compiled by Srila Rupa Goswami's foremost adherent, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and have made their study of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam while remaining inside its shelter, take to heart its real purpose and explicit theme. Wow. Yeah, Chaitanya Charitamrita is absolutely essential to be able to understand the real purpose and explicit theme of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. And we will be reading Chaitanya Charitamrita eventually, once we finish Chaitanya Bhagavat. Professional orators and prakruta sahajyas conceal the divinely intended method of narrating the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. The Śrīmad Bhāgavatam must be expressed in virtue of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and in line with the path of Srila Rupa Goswami. The genuine commentary of the 10th canto shall not be written so as to conceal this method. Countless sahajyas have delivered such commentaries simply for the gratification of general people. Thus they have cleared a path to hell for themselves and others. The Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is the fairly matured, succulent fruit of the wish-fulfilling Vedas, the source of aggregate knowledge and wisdom. Nigama kalpataror galitang phalam shukamukhar amritadrava sangyutam pibata bhagavatam rasam alayam muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavuka. First canto, first chapter of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, first canto, first chapter, verse 3. The Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is the mature, succulent fruit of the wish-fulfilling tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Srila Shukadeva Goswami, and through the disciplic succession of bona fide gurus, it has willingly descended upon this earth in its entirety. It is saturated with the supremely pleasing ambrosial nectar of transcendental emotion, ras. Having no skin, hard seed, fibers, or other discardable parts, it is fit for drinking because it is completely liquid. O great devotees, you who are bhavuk, well acquainted with the transcendental nectarian emotions of divine love, and you who are rasik, experts in relishing all the specific forms of the liquefied ambrosia of transcendental emotion. Even in the liberated stage, you should repeatedly drink the sweet nectar of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Indeed, the supremely liberated souls perpetually relish the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. The word nigama in this verse is synonymous with the word Veda. The Vedas are likened to a wish-fulfilling tree. Whatever one may aspire for with resolve, the Vedas easily yield the fruit. Seculars resolve to pursue the ordinary fourfold Vedic goals, namely dharma, mundane religiosity and righteousness, followed by artha, resultant prosperity, kama, sensual exploit of the facilities afforded by prosperity, and at last moksha, the absolute cessation of consequent material sufferings. On the other hand, those who have abandoned sensual exploit, bhukti, as well as the pursuit of emancipation from suffering, mukti, and who have factually crossed beyond the realm of corporeal perception, never aspire for these unpalatable or tasteless things. The fruit of workers, the karmis, who are full of selfish motives, crave that which is distorted and repugnant, while the adherents of monism, the jnanis, try to realize dry and tasteless absolute non-distinction. But the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam will never yield repugnant or tasteless fruit. Within the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, the increasing excellence of the intrinsic love between the Supreme Lord, Vishai or Sevya, and his servitors, the ashray, or sevak, is readily traced through each of the successive stages from contracted, sankuchita, to slightly budding, ishat mukulita, developing or flowering, pushpita, expanding or blooming, vardita, mature or fully developed, paripushta, and finally the profusely exuberant or perfected. Profusely exuberant or perfected. Okay, let's see, prapakva. Let's see what the footnote says. Compare with the story of Gopakumar and Brihad Bhāgavatamrita. In each successive chapter, Gopakumar meets devotees who possess progressively higher degrees of love for Bhagavan. Okay, so these are the different degrees of love that one has for Bhagavan. Sankuchit, Ishamukulit, Pushpit, Vardit, Paripushta, and Prapakva. Similarly, as the wish-fulfilling tree of the Srimad Bhagavatam unfolds, all conceptions of the Supreme Absolute are chronicled as they evolve through doubt, the denial of the Absolute, the impersonal Absolute, the personal but impotent God, the potent with his potency, the conception of conjugal love with the Supreme, and finally the superlative conception of Parakīya, the Supreme as paramour, what we read before. For one who anxiously longs to serve transcendent beauty through the Parakīya conception, there is no entity that can award the fruit of their determined endeavor other than the wish-fulfilling tree of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Throughout the material universes, or beyond them, or across the Viraja and Brahmaloka, the endless incorporeal firmament, or even in any of the innumerable Vaikuntha planets, there is no entity besides the Srimad Bhagavatam that is capable of yielding the desired fruit of such aspirations. In considering the Parakīya conception, four gradations of increasing excellence are observed. Initially, it is overly tender and immature, taruna. Gradually, it becomes astringent, kashaya, then ripe, pakva, and finally fully ripened, prapakva. And so this is in relation to the Parakīya conception, right? In the Parakīya conception, there's taruna, kashaya, pakva, and prapakva. Let's hear what there's a footnote here. It says, these four gradations are illustrated as follows. The stage of taruna is seen in the tender love of the gopis before their first meeting with Krishna, their purvarag. The stage of kashaya is seen in the love of these gopis who were checked by their husbands and other family members when Krishna called them with his flute. Whereas the stage of pakva is seen in the love of the gopis who abandoned everything and were able to go with him at that time. They were able to go to him at that time. When Krishna left the gopis after Raslila, he submerged them in separation from him and removed their pride. Each gopi had perceived that Krishna was dancing exclusively with her, and thus she developed pride in her extreme good fortune, her Saubhagya-mad. Subsequently, they sang the Gopi Geet, feeling the severe pain of separation from him. When he reappeared, Maharas began. The gopis' condition at that time illustrates prapakva, or fully ripened Parakīya bhav. It is solely this final stage of Parakīya bhav that Krishna wants to relish. Wow. Okay, so these gradations can be perceived by the topmost devotees who earnestly long to serve transcendent beauty. That is to say, it can be perceived by the Rasik and Bhavuk Bhaktas as they relish the transcendental nectar of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Just making sure everything's working. Looks like it. Oh, let me change this logo. Sorry. Boom. Okay. Hey. Is this working? Because it seems like nothing I'm clicking. Okay, nobody made any comments in WhatsApp, so it looks like it. Okay. So only those who can only those rasik and bhavuk devotees who can understand these four gradations of the Parakīya conception, they are factually bhavuk, who are situated on the platform of full, uninterrupted realization of their sthāyi bhav, their eternal relationship with divinity rooted in their own particular mode of service. Apart from one's sthāyi bhav, there are four other ingredients of pure transcendent love. What are these? There are four other ingredients. Okay, so the four other ingredients, so altogether there are five ingredients of ras, right? What we hear in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. They are sthāyi bhav, that's the devotee's internal relationship with divinity rooted in his particular mode of service. Okay, Satyamataji says everything's going well. Thanks. Okay, great. Okay, so the first of the five ingredients of ras is sthāyi bhav. Then there's vibhav, the three supporting ingredients of love, namely the supreme object upon which love depends, the individual who is the reservoir of love for him, and the stimulus which rouses that love. And then that's number two. Now number three is anubhav. That's the ingredient of loving emotions deep within the heart, realized through various outward expressions. Then four is sattvika bhav, the ingredient of ecstatic bodily transformations. And then fifth is the vyabhichari bhav, the ingredient of powerful rising and falling of moods brought about by loving exchanges. Those are the five ingredients of ras. Okay, so those who are deeply rooted. Okay, so when these four ingredients of love combined with one's sthāyi bhav, their pure, their eternal fixed relationship with Krishna, when these four ingredients of love are integrated with the realization of sthāyi bhav, then the ras, the transcendent nectar of divine loving exchange, will arise. Those who are immersed in ras completely surpass the realm of mundane perceptions. Situated on the platform of the profuse transcendental astonishment within their hearts, which are resplendent with Vishuddha Sattva, the supreme purity of spiritual existence, they forever relish this sublime ras. Only they who are rasik, who can relish the astonishing humors of transcendence, can taste the nectar of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, the perfectly succulent fruit of the wish-fulfilling tree of Vedic literature. Upon swallowing any other fruit, there is a possibility of choking. But because this perfectly ripened fruit is fully melted nectar, it contains only juice and is easy to drink. It has no coarse outer covering, no hard core, and no interfering network of fibers. Indeed, there is no aspect at all to be discarded. Literatures that are tainted by selfish motives, anyabhilash, expectation of material gain, karma, cultivation of secular knowledge, jnana, are pursuit of mystic power, yoga. And even those literatures that expound a form of devotion to God that is mixed with any of these, Mishra Bhakti, are all entangled with rejectable non-essential matters and are covered by a coarse layer of misconception. Unlike these, the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is a supremely pure and perfectly ripened embodiment of transcendental nectarian ras. Indeed, it is the infinite reservoir of the absolute totality of this ras, Sri Krishna himself. Such divine ras is meant to be relished through all stages. Even after the point of liberation, the class of truly free souls eternally take pleasure in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. The narration of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam should be heard from the mouths of the Paramahansa Vaishnavas, the most precious jewels among liberated souls, the Mukta Kula Shiromani. And so that's why we're so fortunate to have all these commentaries, so that we can be getting the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam through these Paramahansa Vaishnavas. We have Srila Prabhupada's so many commentaries, so yeah. Still, the Prakrita Sahajas hear from orators whose hearts are full of innumerable worthless attachments, anarthas. Sorry, let me reread that. The Prakrita Sahajas hear from orators whose hearts are full of innumerable worthless attachments that they are dedicated to protecting. Such orators are simply obsessed with the flavors of mundane literature, poetry, and syllables. On the pretense of hearing the Srimad Bhāgavatam, the Prakrita Sahajas simply seek the meager gratification of their material senses, mistaking kuras, the unpalatable flavors of the mundane realm, to be actual ras. Such imitators can never taste the pure, succulent, transcendental humors of the Srimad Bhāgavatam. By hearing the explanations of the Srimad Bhāgavatam sung by a liberated Paramahamsa like Shukadeva Goswami, a qualified listener like Parikshit Maharaj, who is fully convinced regarding the temporary nature of human life, will at once become immersed in relishing the nectar of the Srimad Bhāgavatam and remain there forever. There's a footnote that says, the world's emperor Parikshit Maharaj had been cursed to die in 7 days. Thus he renounced his kingdom and heard Srimad Bhāgavatam from Srila Shukadeva Goswami without interruption until his death. Okay, we all know that. Okay. Thereafter, such a qualified listener forgets all his prior lower interests that were unrelated to Krishna, and he becomes completely untouched by any worldly attachment. A precise written explanation of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhāgavatam, grounded in profound and thorough deliberation, is indispensable. Indeed, such a composition, arranged in congruence with the Rupanuga Gaudiya conception, the conception of Sri Chaitanya Dev's most distinguished apostles headed by Srila Rupa Goswami, elucidating the 10th canto's chapters such as Ras Panchadhyaya, Brahmar Gita, and Gopi Gita, must be set forth without fail. And my Gurudev, he published the commentaries on Ras Panchadhyaya, which we read in our Srimad Bhāgavatam readings, and also Brahmar Gita is a book that we're working on right now. Well, it's slowly being worked on. It'll probably be a while until it's ready. And Gopi Gita, my Gurudev, also has two commentaries on. One of his own commentaries. We have that book published in English. So, yeah, my Gurudev has fulfilled this. Also Srila Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Goswami Prabhupāda had his Gaudiya Bhasha commentary on these also. But the world is in want of actual beauty or rup, the conceptions propounded by Sri Rupa, for currently only kurupa abounds, misshapen conceptions that are opposed to his. In order to broadcast their cleverness and prematurely profess their own elevated status, the Sahajas recklessly amuse themselves by dallying with these lofty branches of the 10th canto. Abolishing their misguided interpretations is requisite, as is composing the actual commentaries on Brahmar Gita, Gopi Gita, and the rest. So we must abolish their misguided interpretations and then compose the actual commentaries on these Brahmar Gita, Gopi Gita, like my Gurudev has done. Negation is not enough. Until now, we have simply occupied ourselves in the process of negation, rejecting atat, literally that which is not. For 8 years, our periodical Gaudiya, which is a weekly magazine, has extensively discussed such issues. The Sahajas can be greatly benefited by studying these articles. However, it is not possible to become advanced in the subject matter of Hari Bhajan if we limit the scope of our endeavors either to simply negating atat or to performing favorable action. The Sahajya Sampradaya asserts, "We will not abandon offenses to chanting the holy names of God." We say, "We shall chant the holy names of God without committing such offenses as they do." The latter indicates no more than the pursuance of favorable action. It does not declare the direct means of performing Hari Bhajan. Yeah, we're not going to commit offenses, but what's the positive? Simply being obliged to favorable action is insufficient without liberally engaging in cultivating the uninterrupted performance of pure spiritual service that is fully abiding in, conscientious of, and devoted to the pleasure and welfare of Krishna. Krishna Anushilanam. Yes, the positive. Just like an epileptic who suffers from recurring seizures, in the absence of such sturdy and uninterrupted service. Okay, wait. Let me reread this. Just like an epileptic who suffers from recurring seizures, in the absence of such sturdy and uninterrupted service, favorable action alone will not prevent the pilgrim on the path of bhakti from periodically losing his healthy spiritual consciousness and falling down. Aided by favorable action alone, he may at once stumble on any unfavorable elements appearing in his path, or he may become staggered by consuming the poison of untrue conceptions, mistaking it for ambrosia. So we need both. Rejects the unfavorable and accepts the favorable, but not just one or the other. While the benefit of singly performing favorable actions that are related to bhakti is not lost even after unlimited lifetimes, still, in this very lifetime, those actions will grant neither emancipation from the mortal sphere, nor perfection of the soul, nor the ability to perform real Hari Bhajan. The attainment of Krishna will remain completely out of reach for one who does not become captivated by his graceful, beautiful form and qualities. But those who have developed real greed for rupa, graceful beauty, who are longing to serve graceful beauty, they alone gain intimacy with Krishna. It's graceful beauty in capitalized. So what is graceful beauty? We're going to find out. Searching for graceful beauty. The name Sri Rupa, that's Sri Rupa Goswami, right? The name Sri Rupa is what is understood by the word Rup, or graceful beauty. Only they who long to serve graceful beauty know the meaning of Hari Bhajan. Only those who want to serve Srila Rupa Goswami, they know the meaning of Hari Bhajan. Graceful beauty. They completely depend on the guidance of Sri Rupa and place all their hopes in following him. The lotus feet of Sri Rupa Manjari are their sole object of adoration and service, and eternally remaining at her lotus feet is the only perfection for which they yearn. It is they who are truly searching for graceful beauty. The commentary on the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhāgavatam must be fashioned for them, for the Rupanugos. It is true that we do not approve of the fraudulent interpretations of Brahmar Gita and Gopi Gita propounded by the Sahajyas. But then we must also provide the real explanations in place of the condemned ones. Simply rejecting adverse elements by declaring, not this, offers no real assistance. The positive element, it is this, must be established. Rejecting adverse elements is but negation in the absence of any positive activity. The impersonal aspect of the Absolute, which is without any comprehensible features, is designated by the word tat, which literally means that. Simply trying to realize tat by exhaustively negating all limited matter is not enough. Leaving aside the dry investigation of tat, one must enter into the pastimes of sa, which literally means he. He, the absolute personality. In the Bengali article, absolute personality is written in English. So he, the absolute personality, the infinite reservoir and original perfection of all transcendent features. One must enter into his pastimes by sequentially realizing the true and absolute nature of his name, his form, his qualities, and the unique glories of his intimate associates. Those who limit their vision to tat and simply engage in the process of negating the unfavorable are bound to make material phenomena their focus. Then there are those whose vision, they claim, extends to Tat Sat. The absolute, Tat, has transcendental existence, Sat. But those who are factually situated in transcendence even perceive the material world, the cosmic manifestation of the Supreme Lord, as a reflection of the original immaculate source, the eternal and incorruptible abode of the absolute divinity. Thus, they see Sa, the non-dual entity, as he who manifests all features in full, and who possesses sublime names, forms, qualities, intimate associates, and pastimes. Their vision is Raso Vaisaha. That means, certainly he is the divine nectar. He is Ras. He is the absolute form of all sublime nectarian humors in their entirety. Akila Rasamrita Murti. Śrīla Rupa Goswami explains, Akila Rasamrita Murti Prasrimara Ruchiruddha Taraka Pali Kalita Shama Lalito Radha Preyan Vidur Jayati. That's from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. That's the very first verse of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Sri Krishna Chandra is supremely glorious. He is the condensed form of all the eternal supramundane rasas. Indeed, he has not neglected the full expression of any divine sentiment. Just see how he subjugates the extremely submissive gopi Ṭhākura. Just as the vernal full moon outshines a tiny star, her own effulgence totally engulfed by his brilliance. And Pali, who is also controlled by him, is just like a constellation keeping the moon at her bosom. His rays are her as well. When the vernal full moon accepts the night sky as a playground, the atmosphere becomes ideal for love dalliance. In the same way, Sri Krishna makes Shama, who is like the dark blue vault, and Lalita, who is love dalliance personified, his very own. He comes under the control of the prem of Srimati Radhika, who is the embodiment of Mahabhav and the origin of all the Yuteshwaris, just as the full moon comes under the powerful influence of the Radha constellation in the spring season. Srimati Radhika's love completely eclipses and defeats him. She is his everything, without which he is just the lonely moon. So that's like a Bhavanuvad of this first verse of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. The school of the selfishly motivated karmis and jnanis question, why don't you manufacture salt? Why don't you work as weavers or plow the fields? Why don't you serve people suffering from cholera by becoming their sweepers? Or why don't you cremate the bodies of the deceased? Hoping to perfect their favored means of increasing sensual and mental pleasure, they somehow attempt to subjugate the devotees of Krishna for their purposes. Of course, their cleverness is insignificant compared to the brilliance of Sri Krishna's servants, so there is no possibility that they can ever oppress us. Sri Gaurasundar, Sri Radha Govinda, and all their intimate associates are superlatively worthy masters. As their loving servants, we have placed them all on our shoulders in respectful subservience, and we will never allow anyone else a place there. The pinnacle of all our expectations. We will follow Sri Upadeshamrita, the essential ambrosial commandments propounded by Śrīla Rupa Goswami. We will abandon what is unfavorable and accept what is favorable. But we will never consider the practice of accepting what is favorable to be enough to maintain the progressive flow of our bhakti. Yes, we need to not just follow, Utsaha Nishchaya Dharyat, we must also follow Atyahara Prayashascha. We will not become degraded, losing our healthy spiritual consciousness like the epileptic who, tortured by reoccurring seizures, violently falls to the ground unconscious. Filled with intense enthusiasm, we will actively cultivate the tendencies of our minds, bodies, and words in the service of Krishna's name and character, Krishna Anushilan, situate ourselves in Mathura and Vraj, the fully transcendental facsimiles of Krishna's unmanifest eternal abodes, and sing the glorification of his holy name and sublime nature. What's facsimiles mean? Exact copy of a picture, a piece of writing. Okay. Thus, we will follow the clear path set forth by Srila Rupa Goswami. Then we will be able to engage in smaran, the act of meditating on Krishna, and thus remembering him constantly. We will attain permanent residence on the bank of Radhakund and the beautiful forest grove belonging to our most worshipful goddess. Remaining there forever, we will engage in service to the divine couple under the direction of our eternal guides, whose hearts are the permanent resting place of love for Krishna, the ashray. Outwardly, we will never leave the shelter of Krishna's holy name, and internally, enveloped in spiritual time, the eternal eightfold divisions of the day, the Ashtakal Lila, we will serve the most cherished beloved of King Vrishabhanu's daughter. That is, we will serve Shri Krishna, the most beloved of Radharani, for all time. This achievement is the pinnacle of all our expectations. We have no aspiration besides this. Furthermore, we cannot conceive that any higher aspiration exists, even for greatly liberated souls. Okay, now we're coming to the end of the article. The compassionate gift of Sri Chaitanya. In truth, our divine guide, Sri Guru, who is the beloved servant of Krishna, the holy name of Krishna, the Srimad Bhāgavatam, which unfolds the pastimes of Krishna, Sri Radha Govinda themselves, and Sri Chaitanya, who is known as Sri Gaurasundar, the combined form of Radha and Krishna, they are all non-different features of the absolute truth. We need not become like the fruit of workers and empiricists who try to fulfill all their separate interests by the worship of 5 deities, Panchopasana. Their service is never meant for the pleasure of Krishna. Instead, we will render truly pleasing service to Krishna in 5 ways to his 5 non-different features. There's 5 non-different features. That's Gaurasundar, Radha Krishna. What is that? I just want to see that again. That's Sri Guru, Krishna Nam, Srimad Bhagavatam, Radha Govinda, and Sri Gaurasundar, the combined form. Are those the 5 things? Anyways, sorry. Okay. Yes. Their service. Instead, we will render the pleasing service to Krishna in 5 ways to his 5 non-different features. Okay, sorry. Explains it below. I didn't realize. First, we will serve him in his aspect of his own beloved servant, our divine guide, Sri Guru. Second, we will serve him as his holy name, his incarnation as transcendental sound. Third, we will serve him as the Srimad Bhagavatam. Fourth, we will serve him as Radha Krishna. And fifth, we will serve him as Sri Gaurasundar. Furthermore, we will worship Krishna with all 5 primary transcendental humors, Pancharas, as devotee, servant, friend, guardian, and lover. By becoming the devoted follower of Srila Rupa Goswami, by becoming a Rupanuga, we will worship Krishna in the paramour conception, Madhur Ras, which completely contains all 5 rasas. There's more proof that truly to be a Rupanuga means that you're serving in Madhur Ras. Srila Bhaktisiddhānta, because many devotees argue that being you can be a true Rupanuga, like a full Rupanuga, and be serving in any of the other rasas. But Srila Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura himself is saying here that we will serve Krishna in the paramour conception. It doesn't mean that there aren't people. Anyways, whatever. I don't need to continue. We will not be content simply by rejecting the unfavorable, Nor will we expect to flourish in bhakti simply by accepting the favorable. Rather, we will always actively cultivate the tendency to arrange for Krishna's pleasure, Krishna Anushilana. Sri Chaitanya Dev appeared before us as the embodiment of infinite magnanimity, compassion, and kindness, Audarya Vigraha. For he freely bestowed upon us Unata Ujjvala Ras, the most elevated, brilliant conception of devotional service and paramour love, which had not been revealed for millions of eons. By immersing ourselves in the endless ocean of his magnanimity, we will become the rightful recipients of that same rare treasure. Following in the footsteps of Sri Swarup Damodar Prabhu, his most confidential companion, we will recite, Helo dhunita kedaya vishadaya pronmila damodaya Shamyach chastra vivadaya rasadaya chetarpiton mataya Shashvar bhakti vinodaya samadaya madhurya maryadaya Shri Chaitanya daya nideta vadaya bhuya ramanto daya. That's Shri Chaitanya Chandrodaya Natak 8:14, quoted in Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 10:119. The meaning, and this is how this ends, right? Yes. Good. O Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, ocean of compassion, may your auspicious mercy be awakened everywhere. It easily dispels all kinds of mundane lamentation, and it illuminates everything with purity. It thoroughly awakens supreme transcendental bliss and removes all confusion arising from disparities among scriptures. Your auspicious mercy bestows all of the transcendental humors headed by paramour love and intoxicates the soul, thus vanquishing his absorption in his mortal frame. In other words, situated in the fully condensed bliss of separation, his heart surges with divine madness and delusion. Your mercy perpetually stimulates bhakti's own delightful nature, so that by the influence of the original transcendental Cupid, profuse ecstatic transformations are aroused that plunder the soul's faculty of discrimination between right and wrong. The appearance of your mercy heralds the complete cessation of all the soul's selfish desires, and at the same time, it confers the last limit of divine sweetness. Your boundless mercy, in the freedom of unmeasuring love, recklessly distributes the most valuable benediction without any restriction. Please awaken your causeless mercy within my heart. Translated from Śrīla Prabhupādera Harikathāmṛtam, published by Sri Chaitanya Math. And it appeared in Rays of the Harmonist, issue number 17, Kārtika 2007. Wow. That article, there's a lot in that article. Huh? This is like the kind of thing that we need to read over and over and over again. And this probably spends time on each paragraph just really trying to digest it. It's so deep, huh? Anyhow, so now we've... sorry if there were other comments. For some reason the chat thing hasn't been working for me. But yeah, Dandavat pranams to all of you who joined. Thank you so much for being here with me. And the next few days until Chaturmasya, I'm not going to go live at this time because I have a lot to prepare for this new program that we're starting. I'm not have all of you here. Did you see the YouTube video I made? Anyhow, if you haven't, if you go to my channel, that's youtube.com/@Vine of Devotion. That's my YouTube channel. You'll see the video there, and it has. I explain all the details of what we're gonna do for the 5 months of Chaturmasya and Purushottam Vrat. There'll be 3 programs: a japa program, in which we go through Srila Bhakti Srila Goswami Maharaj's book, Prapana Jivanamrita, sorry. And then we'll sing Ashtakams, and different stotrams for 45 minutes. And then we will begin Chaitanya Bhagavat and read the commentary of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Goswami Prabhupāda and have a discussion and like that. So yeah, that will be starting in how many days from now? Let's see. It's 3 days from now. Yep. So I hope you can all join that. So there'll be 3 days without any reading, and then we'll start that program. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining this reading, and I'll see you all in 3 days. Oh, wait 1 second. I just want to do one more thing. I didn't read anything for Śrīla Bharati Maharaj yesterday. I mean, I did go live showing those programs, but I want to just give me 1 second. I want to just that's strange. I thought I had it open. Oh, here. Here, let's read some quotes from Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj. Vigyan Sar. How come it's not opening? There. Okay, so here's just some quotes that they gave. Only when grace descends, one can understand anything about transcendence. Yes, we can't understand anything by our own effort. Only when grace descends can we understand anything. Shishimad Bhakti Sora Bhaktisar Goswami Maharaj was not attached to the prestige that comes with his high-ranking position. Rather, he was interested only in rendering service to Shri Hari, Guru, and Vaishnavas, exemplifying that a sadhak must give up all that is unfavorable for the practice of bhakti. We read a lot about that today, didn't we, in that article? Without the guidance of a personally present sadhu, we will be unable to comprehend the true essence of the teachings of our Gurujans, who have concluded their pastimes in this world. Wow, that's a very important quote. We can't understand the essence of the teachings of our Gurujans without the guidance of a personally present sadhu. Wow, that's kind of, what do I do then? Okay, then the heart is cleansed only through bhakti, or performing loving devotional service unto the Lord and his devotees. If a devotee desires to invite the Lord to reside in his heart, he must follow this process of purification. There is no other way. Okay. As Vaishnavas are the objects of our service, we should not make them wait. Since Diksha Guru and Shiksha Guru are considered non-different in tattva, it is only proper to include Om Vishnupad before both of their names. Srila Prabhupada personally observed the indomitable enthusiasm and expertise with which Sri Nartamananda Prabhu delivered lectures and performed kirtan, awarding him the title Bhakti Kamala. And Nartamananda Prabhu was the first person that my Srila Gurudev came into contact with from the Gaudiya Math. He would deliver exceptionally sweet sermons on the Srimad Bhāgavatam, explaining every subject with sound reasoning and in no uncertain terms. He was very mindful and considerate in his dealings with journey devotees, and he was always careful not to hurt anyone with his words. So much of Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj's katha is glorifying especially the associates of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Goswami Prabhupāda and other Gurujan. That was like half of his Harikatha. I don't know. But a lot of his Harikatha was like that. Oh, this is a good one. If you are pleased by worshipping me, then I will willingly accept this service to serve you. He would say that on his Vyas Puja day, wouldn't he? I remember hearing that from him directly in his classes. Okay. Unless one sincerely takes shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Guru, Vaishnavas, and Bhagavan, and follow in their footsteps, none of his efforts to perform bhakti will bear fruit. Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur can be addressed as the original pioneer and founder of Gaudiya Math. All the kirtans sung from dawn to dusk across all of the Gaudiya Maths, Mangal Arti, Bhog Arti, Sandhya Arti, among other kirtans, are his compositions. His every composition is purely based on the scriptures, and every essential teaching is part of these kirtans. Oh, this is a good one. Unless during our observance of Rath Yatra we meet with sadhus, hear from them, and stay under their guidance, we will derive no benefit by attending this festival. We will be unable to understand its deep meanings and truths. Oh, this is a nice one. Only the Shabda of Goloka can take one to Goloka. Let's see what else. Okay. By glorifying, associating, and serving the Vaishnavas, one develops affection for them. As a result, the mind, which otherwise remains absorbed in the endless expanse of Maya, becomes purified. Thus, one attains spiritual realization beyond the material influence, becoming completely immersed in transcendental bliss. Can a big house, latest car, and beautiful wife make you happy? Matvas, living in the temple, happens by mind. Oh wow, this is a great one. Matvas, living in the temple, happens by mind, not by body. Wow, so all of you, wherever you are living, you can be living in the temple. It's not those brahmacharis who are in the temple. That doesn't necessarily mean they are actually living in the temple. Adhikar, qualification, increases only when we have earnest desire to grow. These are so nice. Vaishnav Seva is the only medium through which Harikatha will enter the heart, where realizations reside. Vaishnav Seva. Wow. Yeah, Srila Bharati Maharaj, that was another, that was one of his main emphases in his Harikatha was Vaishnav Seva. Vaishnav Seva is the only medium through which Harikatha will enter the heart, where realizations reside. Real darshan is not performed with the eyes, but with the ears. Shri Krishna is obliged only by affection. Therefore, his mercy descends when service is performed with utmost love and affection. Okay, I'm going to end with this one. This is from my Param Gurudev. Our fight is not for anything other than establishing the proper Siddhanta, the conclusive truths, and reconnecting those who have strayed from the path with Śrīla Prabhupāda. We have not joined the mat to accrue property or to deal in real estate. Our only duty is to serve Śrīla Prabhupāda and the Vaishnavas. Actually, I'll end with this quote because I should end with Srila Bharati Maharaj. Okay. Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam means to constantly engage in bhakti under the guidance of Anukul Shakti Shri Radha. That is, Shri Radha, the potency of Shri Krishna, who is most capable of pleasing him. Her service alone is known as Uttama Bhakti, or the topmost bhakti. Wow, that's beautiful. That's such a beautiful explanation of Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam. That actually means service to Srimati Radhika, because only she is capable of fully pleasing Krishna. All right, everybody, thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, in a few days from now. Hare Krishna.